The strange gate appears. The stars were quiet that night. Out at the far edge of human space, the research station Orion's Edge floated alone. It had been built to watch the deep void, to look for strange signals or new worlds. For years, the crew had seen nothing but drifting rocks and silent planets. But tonight was different. Something new was moving out there. Lieutenant Kara sat at the control desk, sipping cold coffee. Her eyes were half closed from a long shift. Then the sensors beeped, loud and sharp. Kara frowned, tapped the screen, and saw a strange shape on the radar. It was big, much bigger than any ship they knew. It was moving fast, but not like a normal object. It wasn't burning fuel, it was just sliding through space. She called the captain at once. "Sir, you need to see this," she said. Captain Marlowe stepped onto the bridge, tall and calm. He had served in deep space for 20 years, but when he saw the screen, his face turned, pale. The image showed a massive ring, silver, shining in the dark, 8 long arms stretched from it, curving like the legs of a spider. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Is it a ship?" Marlowe asked. Kara shook her head. "No heat, no engines, no signals," she replied. The object had stopped, floating above a dead, gray moon. The 8 arms moved slowly, like they were breathing. It didn't look like something made by humans. It looked alive. The science officer, Dr. Halen, entered with his scanning tablet. "It's made of metal, yes, but also something else," he said. "Organic tissue, like muscle, but harder than steel." The crew stared at him in silence. Something this big, this strange, should not exist. And yet, it was here. Right outside their station, they sent out 3 small probes. The probes flew toward the ring, cameras on, but as they reached the edge of the silver arms, their signals went dead. One moment they were there, the next they were gone. No explosion, no warning, just vanished. The crew grew restless. No one liked the feeling of being watched. But that's exactly how it felt. Every time they looked at the ring, the arms seemed to have shifted a little, as if they were following the station, as if they were listening. Then the comm system lit up. A message came in from Central Command. The captain read it silently. When he looked up, his eyes were sharp and cold. "Orders," he said. "We are to approach the object. Find out if it's a threat." The room went quiet. Everyone knew this was dangerous, but orders were orders. They prepared the horizon, the station's small research ship. The crew checked weapons, sensors, and escape pods, Kara whispered to her friend Juno, the navigator. "Feels like we're walking into a spider's web." Juno didn't answer, but her face said she agreed. As the horizon undocked, the ring filled the forward view. It was even bigger now, its arms stretching far into the void. The surface shimmered with strange lights, not like lamps, but like lightning trapped under glass. As they got closer, the arms began to move faster. They shifted and curled, almost like they were reaching. Out, the captain ordered a slow approach. Dr. Halen kept scanning. "The structure is changing," he said, his voice low. "It's reacting to us." The crew watched as one of the arms bent down toward them. Its surface rippled, like it was made of liquid metal. And then, the end of the arm split open, revealing a dark tunnel. Inside, faint blue lights glowed. They looked like stars caught in a web. No one spoke. Then, without warning, a voice filled the ship. It wasn't coming from the speakers. It was inside their heads, cold and smooth. "Step forward, children." "Of bone," the voice said. "The gate is open." Juno's hands trembled on the controls, Kara whispered. "Did you hear that?" Everyone nodded, faces pale. The captain sat in his chair, silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, "Record everything, we're going in." The horizon glided toward the open tunnel. The silver arms around them moved like the legs of a waiting predator. The glow inside grew brighter. It was too late to turn back now. The eight-limbed gate had chosen them, and somewhere deep inside the darkness, something was waiting. First contact with the gate. The horizon slid into the tunnel. At once, the stars. Outside were gone. Only the silver walls surrounded them, curving in strange, shifting patterns. The surface seemed to breathe, rising and falling in slow waves. The blue lights they had seen from outside were not lamps. They were tiny floating orbs, drifting like living fireflies. Every few seconds, one would drift close to the ship, press against the glass, and blink like an eye. Kara kept her hands tight on the sensor panel. "Captain, the readings." "They don't make sense," she said. "It's metal, but also alive. It's not just a tunnel. It's growing." Her voice cracked. The captain stayed calm, but his eyes kept moving, scanning every shadow. Halfway through the passage, a deep vibration shook the ship. It wasn't like an engine or a machine, it was more like a voice too low to hear. The walls pulsed with brighter light. Shapes began to form in the silver surface, long, thin limbs, with too many joints. They reached toward the ship, then pulled back, like tasting the air. Juno slowed the engines. "Feels like it wants us to keep going," she muttered. Dr. Halen frowned. "Or it's giving us time to turn around," he said. But they didn't turn. Something was pulling them forward, like gravity that didn't obey any rules. Then it happened again. The voice inside every mind, clearer now and closer. "Step. Without fear. Children of bone, your path is spun." The words echoed, but not in sound. In thought, the crew felt the meaning more than they heard it, like an idea whispered directly into the brain. Suddenly, the tunnel opened wide. The horizon floated out into an enormous dark space. It wasn't empty. A web stretched across the void, bigger than a planet. Its threads glowed faintly, and along them moved shapes, huge shapes, crawling slowly. Each one had long, jointed legs and shining black eyes the size of escape pods. Kara's mouth went dry. "They're alive," she whispered. Dr. Halen pressed his face to the glass. "Not just alive, they're building," he said. The giant spiders were carrying huge crystal pods along the glowing threads. Some pods pulsed with light, others were dark. The whole place was like a city, but a city hanging in the middle of nothing. A sudden shadow fell across them. Something enormous was moving toward the ship. 8 eyes lit up, reflecting blue light. The creature stopped only a short distance away. It was at least as long as the horizon. Its legs moved slowly, carefully, like a hunter studying its prey. The voice returned, louder now. "You are seen. You are weighed. You are welcome." The spider creature tilted its head in a disturbingly human way. Then one leg lifted and touched a thread of the web. The whole web vibrated with a low hum. Across the darkness, other shapes began to move toward them, dozens of them. "Closing in, Captain." Marlowe gripped the armrest of his chair. "No weapons!" he ordered. "Show them we're not here to fight." The creatures surrounded the ship, but instead of attacking, they began weaving a new thread, thick and silver, from the edge of the web to the ship's hull. The thread wrapped gently around the horizon, holding it like a fly caught in silk. Only this silk was warm, almost soft. It felt less like a prison and more like a handshake. One of the spiders, larger than the rest, climbed closer. Its body shimmered with deep red markings. When it spoke, the voice inside their heads was clear and sharp. "Follow, and you will be given trial, refuse, and the gate will close." The captain exchanged a long look with his crew. They all knew the same thing. There was no way home without going forward. Marlowe nodded. "Take us in," he said. The spider turned and began to move, the horizon drifting behind it, tied by living silk, deeper into the spider's realm. The spider's realm. The horizon drifted deeper, pulled gently by the silk thread. All around them, the web stretched into the dark, connecting to huge floating rocks. Some rocks were bare, but others were covered in strange towers made of silver and crystal. They were not random shapes. They curved like shells, spiraled like seashells, but each one pulsed with a slow heartbeat. The crew realized with a shiver. These towers were alive. Juno stared out the window. "It's not just
a web," she whispered. "It's a whole
world." Kara's eyes followed a small spider creature moving along one thread. It carried something in its mouth, a glowing seed-like orb, and placed it into a hollow in one of the towers. The hollow closed around it like a mouth, swallowing. It whole, Dr. Halen recorded everything, his hands shaking. "These are not just hunters," he said quietly. "They grow things here, maybe even people." No one wanted to think about that. The large red-marked spider that had spoken before led them toward the biggest web structure of all. It hung in the middle of nothing, larger than a space station. From a distance, it looked like a dome woven from millions of silk strands. Up close, they could see creatures moving inside. Dozens of them, each working on the threads, repairing, weaving, building. The whole place shimmered like it was wet, but no water existed here, only the cold and the slow heartbeat of the realm. As they entered, the ship passed through a curtain of fine, glowing threads. Each thread touched the hull lightly. The crew felt something in their minds, a flicker of images, strange forests, burning suns, and a vast shadow moving between the stars. Then it was gone. Kara gasped. "They just looked inside us," she said. "Not the ship. Us." Inside the dome, the air shimmered with tiny floating lights. Spiders of all sizes moved along the strands, some no bigger than a hand, others so massive they could crush a fighter craft. The red-marked spider climbed up a spiral of silk and stopped before a shape in the center. At first, it looked like a huge web bundle, but then it moved. 8 long legs unfolded slowly. A body as big as a human house shifted in the light. The eyes, hundreds of them, glowed gold. This was no ordinary creature. The voice that entered their minds was deeper, bolder. "Travelers of bone and water, you have crossed the first thread," it said. "Now you stand before Thris, weaver queen of the gate." The queen's legs curled inward, then stretched wide, filling the space with a slow, deliberate movement. Her golden eyes scanned them, not with curiosity, but with judgment. "We have watched your kind," the voice said. "You build, you fight, you spread, you take, and you burn, yet you also protect, create, and dare." The crew stood frozen, the weight of the voice heavy in their minds. "Why bring us here?" Captain Marlowe asked. The Queen's eyes shifted, focusing only on him. "Because the web shakes," she said. The crew didn't understand. She continued. "There are predators beyond the web, older than me, older than you. They will come. They always come. And when they do, the gate will decide who is prey and who is hunter." Kara swallowed hard. "What do you want from us?" she asked. The Queen's fangs clicked slowly. "A test," she said. "Pass, and the threads will hold for you. Fail, and you will be wrapped until you rot." Before anyone could answer, the silk thread holding the horizon detached. Dozens of smaller spiders descended around them, weaving a new path through the dome. The path led into darkness, where the threads were broken and tangled. The Queen's voice followed them as they moved away. "Every species faces the 8 trials. Every choice sticks to the web. There is no cutting free." The ship drifted into the shadows. The lights of the city faded behind them. Ahead, something moved in the dark, too fast to see clearly, and somewhere deep inside, the crew began to feel it. They were no longer guests. They were part of the hunt, the web cities. The new silk path wound through the shadows. The horizon moved slowly, guided by small spider creatures that darted ahead like quicksilver beyond the broken threads. A new light appeared, and soft and golden, as they came closer. The crew saw shapes hanging in the void. Dozens of them, connected by glowing bridges. They were towers of silk and crystal, each swaying gently in the invisible currents of this realm. Some towers were tall and narrow, spiraling like seashells. Others were wide and flat, with layers of glowing platforms. The light came from within the silk itself, as if it was alive and breathing. This was no simple settlement. It was a city hanging in the black. As they drew nearer, the crew saw movement. Not just spiders, but other shapes. Small, glowing creatures floated between towers like drifting seeds. Long, worm-like beings slid along the strands, weaving new threads. Everywhere there was motion, and yet it felt ordered. Like every step and every spin had a purpose. Their guide, the red-marked spider, stopped before a vast gateway woven between two of the tallest towers. It was shaped like an arch, but instead of stone, it was made. Of thousands of tiny moving threads, the threads shifted and rewove themselves, forming patterns that almost looked like faces. The voice returned in their minds, but softer this time. You enter the heart of the Threadborn. Inside, the city was even stranger. There were no streets, no buildings in the human sense. Instead, everything was connected by silk bridges and tunnels that twisted in all directions. Up, down, sideways, even diagonally through the air, creatures of all sizes moved along these strands. Some hung upside down, speaking in clicks and hums. Others worked together to spin large silk, chambers that glowed with stored starlight. Kara pressed her face to the viewport. It's like every part of it is alive, she whispered. Dr. Halen nodded. The city is alive. The silk is their ground, their walls, their food, maybe even their memory. They passed clusters of silk pods hanging from high threads. From some came faint noises, clicking, tapping, even whispers. Juno shivered. What's inside those? She asked. The red-marked guide answered in their minds. The waiting, it said simply. No one dared ask more. Finally, they reached a wide, flat web platform. Dozens of spiders gathered, their eyes glinting in the golden light. They moved, aside as a single figure approached, tall, elegant, with legs striped in gold and black. Unlike the others, this one carried a cloak made of fine white silk that flowed like water. The voice that filled their minds was calm but commanding. I am Varith, speaker for the Weaver Queen. I will show you the trials. Varith led them deeper into the city along the way. They passed great silk murals stretched between towers. Each mural shimmered with moving images. Battles fought among the stars, strange ships caught in webs, dark shapes that swallowed light. One mural showed something that made the crew stop, a human starship, torn and wrapped in silk. Kara whispered, That's one of ours. Varith's golden eyes turned toward them. Some came before you, it said. They did not pass. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Captain Marlowe kept his voice steady. What happens if we fail the trials? He asked. Varith tilted its head. The web wastes nothing, it replied, and turned away. They finally reached a huge open web at the city's center. At its heart was a hole that seemed to lead into endless darkness. Varith stopped at the edge and spoke again. Your first trial begins here. You will descend, and you will not be alone. From the shadows below, something moved. Long. Spindly limbs reached upward, and eyes like molten gold blinked in the dark. The silk trembled under the weight of whatever was climbing toward them. And the crew knew the city was not a safe place. It was a nest, and they had just been dropped into the middle of it. The test. The hole at the center of the great web yawned like an open mouth. Silk strands crisscrossed its edges, trembling slightly as if something far below was moving. The crew of the Horizon stood at the rim, their hearts pounding. Above them, dozens of spiders clung to the surrounding towers, watching in complete silence. Their many eyes glowed faintly in the golden light, unblinking. It felt less like an audience, and more like 1,000 judges waiting for a verdict. Vareth, the golden-striped speaker, moved forward. "The first trial is the descent," the voice in their minds said. "You must reach the chamber below without being taken by the threads that hunt." The crew didn't know what that meant, but the tone left no doubt. Something down there wanted to catch them without another word. Vareth extended a limb and cut one of the supporting strands. The hole expanded and the silk platform beneath their feet began to slowly lower. At first, the drop was gentle, but soon it tilted, forcing them to grab onto the slippery strands. For balance, Kara glanced down and froze. Below, the darkness moved. Not just one thing, many. Shapes darted between the strands, sometimes crawling along them, sometimes sliding straight through the gaps as if the air itself was solid. For a moment, she thought they looked like spiders, but their bodies were too long, too thin, their limbs bending in impossible ways. And their faces. They weren't faces at all, just gaping holes lined with tiny spinning teeth. The crew descended deeper. A sudden movement flashed to their right. One of the creatures lunged from the dark, grabbing a nearby strand and shaking it hard. The vibration traveled up toward them, making the silk quiver under their hands. Dr. Halen lost his grip for a moment, sliding downward before catching another strand, his face pale. "This isn't just a climb," he gasped. "It's a hunt." From above, Vareth's voice came again, calm and sharp. "The threads that hunt know your fear. They feel it in the silk. The more you fear, the faster they move." Kara tried to steady her breathing. She could feel the vibrations, her own heartbeat echoing through the strands. She realized the creatures below were moving toward her position. They weren't guessing where she was. They knew. Suddenly, one of the creatures leapt, grabbing the strand she held. Its spinning teeth scraped toward her hand. Marlowe swung his boot hard, kicking it away. The thing fell, but instead of dropping into the dark, it clung to another thread and scuttled upward faster than before. The chamber below began to glow with faint blue light. They were close, but the hunters were closing in too. One by one, the creatures began pulling at the strands, trying to cut off their path. The silk under Juno's hands snapped without warning. She fell, grabbing Kara's wrist just in time. The weight pulled them both down a few feet before Marlowe caught Kara's shoulder. The three hung together, swaying in the dark. Below, the blue light was brighter now. Shapes moved within it. More spiders, but these were different. They were larger, their silk shimmering like crystal. They were waiting, the moment the crew's feet touched the bottom. The hunters stopped. They clung to the edges, their eyeless heads turning away as if something stronger had claimed the prey. The crystal silk spiders surrounded the crew in a wide circle. From the shadows beyond them, a deep voice filled their minds. "You have reached the chamber, but reaching is not passing." The ground beneath them shifted. It wasn't solid. It was woven silk, stretched over an open pit. The strands began to thin, snapping one by one. Kara realized the trial wasn't over. It was changing. They had survived the descent. Now they had to survive whatever came next. Secrets in the web. The silk floor sagged under their feet. Every step made the threads groan softly. The crystal silk spiders still circled them, their legs moving in slow, deliberate patterns. But they did not attack. Instead, they spun new threads between each other, thin strands that shimmered with shifting images. At first, the crew thought they were seeing random light. Then Kara gasped.
They're showing memories.
The threads glowed brighter, revealing a moving picture. A human ship drifting in darkness. Its hull bore an old Earth emblem, faded but clear. The ship's lights were dead, its engines cold, shapes crawled across it. Wrapping it in silk, the image faded, replaced by another. This time it was a battle. Strange. Eel-like creatures bursting from a tear in space, slamming into a web strand the size of a planet. The spiders fought them with long spears of hardened silk, but many were torn apart. The soundless images burned into the crew's minds. Dr. Halen whispered,
These are not just memories, they're warnings.
Juno's eyes narrowed.
Or threats, she said.
The spiders stopped weaving and turned toward the far wall of the chamber. There, in the shadows, something large was caught. In layers of webbing, the crew stepped closer. It was a human escape pod, dented and torn. Inside, the skeletal remains of a man floated in the dim light. A cracked data pad was strapped to his chest. Marlowe pulled it free, his fingers trembling. The screen flickered, weakly, showing only a few words before dying. The gate lied. A cold shiver ran through the crew. Before they could speak, the floor shifted again, lowering them into a deeper chamber. The air here, if it was air, felt heavier, pressing. Against their skin like water, on the walls, symbols glowed faintly. Some were clearly alien, but others were human letters, names, dates, fragments of words. Kara traced one with her finger.
It's from the Dauntless mission, she said, her voice shaking. That ship vanished 20 years ago.
Varith appeared above them, descending, on a thick silk rope. Its golden eyes gleamed in the dim light.
Now you see, the voice said in their minds, the gate is not one realm, but many, and each demands its price.
Marlowe clenched his fists.
What is this place? He demanded.
Varith's fangs clicked slowly.
The place where choices are stored, it said. Every species leaves something behind, a ship, a name, a body, or a truth they swore never to tell. Before the crew could ask more, a low rumble shook the web. The walls shimmered with a ripple of blue light. The crystal silk spiders froze, then turned toward the far end of the chamber. From the darkness, a tear began to open in the air. It was not like the gate. It was jagged, wrong. Through it came a flicker of movement, fast and sharp. A single, black limb stabbed through, cutting a silk strand clean in half. Varith's voice hardened. The predators have scented you. The tear widened. Beyond it, the crew could see a void deeper than space itself. And in that void, eyes, dozens of them, all fixed on the humans. Kara stepped back instinctively. Marlowe's voice was low and grim. We're not just in their trials anymore, he said. We're in their war. Crossing back. The tear in the air split wider. Black limbs slid through like knives through water. Each limb ended in a claw that shimmered with a strange, oily light. The crystal silk spiders hissed in unison, their voices sharp inside the crews. Minds, the web underfoot vibrated as if an earthquake was rolling through it. Varith dropped between the humans and the tear. The predators will not stop now, its voice thundered. If they break through, the gate will unravel and all threads will fall. Marlowe looked up at the towering alien. Then let us help, he said. Varith's golden eyes flickered. With something like respect. Help, yes. But you cannot fight them here. Your path is to run. Without warning, the silk beneath their feet tightened into a long, narrow strand. It shot upward like a whip, carrying the Horizon crew toward a distant glow. Far below, the predators poured through the tear, long segmented bodies with too many limbs. Their mouths opened in silent screams, each lined with spirals of teeth. One leapt onto the silk strand, climbing fast. Kara swung her rifle and fired. The shot didn't kill it, but the blast tore the strand it clung to. The predator tumbled into the dark, but more were coming. Ahead, the glow brightened. The eight-limbed gate, its silver arms shifted and curled, opening a path. But the movement was wrong this time. Frantic, almost desperate. It wasn't just opening for them, it was holding something back. The crew landed hard on a wide platform woven in the gate's center. Varith appeared beside them, its silk cloak whipping in the strange wind. "One must stay to hold the passage," it said. The words hit like a blow. Silence hung for a moment. Then Marlowe stepped forward. "I'll do it," he said. Kara grabbed his arm. "No, we all go," she snapped. But Varith shook its head slowly. "The web chooses." Before they could argue, the Queen's voice filled the chamber, heavy and final. "Marlowe of bone and water, your thread is not yet cut." She turned, her many eyes to Varith. "You will stay." The speaker froze for a heartbeat, then bowed its head without protest. It stepped toward the silver arms, pressing its legs into the strands. The gate shuddered as if bracing for impact. "Go," Varith said simply. The horizon shot forward, pulled by unseen forces. Predators lunged behind them, but strands snapped closed like steel doors, cutting them off. The silver arms wrapped around the ship, light blinding their eyes, then stars. The cold black of human space. The gate hung behind them, already fading, its arms curling inward like a closing fist. For a moment, they thought it was over. Then a final whisper touched their minds. "When the shadows move between your suns, the web will call you again." The gate vanished. Silence filled the bridge. Marlowe looked out at the stars, his jaw tight. They were home. But the war beyond the web had already begun.